Hi, this is John with The Evolving World. Today we're beginning a new project here. We are going to be doing an EV conversion of an existing car. This is a 1992 Suzuki Cappuccino. It is a lightweight, perfectly balanced sports car. It was manufactured only for the Japanese domestic market from the years of 1992 through 1997. They also sold the car in the UK for the 1994 model year. One interesting element of the car is the type of roof system it has. It's the only production car ever to use a 3-panel and tilting roof mechanism. So it has a hardtop, T-top, targa top, and full convertible. Total production number of 28,010 units were ever produced. So it's a relatively low production number. Don't know how many cars are still remaining. Probably not all of them. Overall, it's a great car to drive. I really enjoy driving this car a lot. It's a hoot. The engine is a little bit old and tired. It burns oil. It's not as fast as it used to be. The gas fumes are horrific. There's no catalytic converter on it. Grinds in third gear. And every time I take it out for a drive, all I can think about is how cool it would be if it had a different motor. Like not an engine, but an electric motor. And so that's the one problem with the car. So let's go ahead and fix that. But first, let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's take it out for a spin in its current form before we begin the conversion. Let's kind of take it for a spirited drive here. Unfortunately, it's rush hour. I'm trying to get away from the traffic here. Try to show you how the acceleration is. It actually picks up really nicely. I mean, this car is under 1,600 pounds with gas in it. I mean, it's basically 400 pounds lighter than a Lotus Elise, and if you can imagine what that must feel like. It's very much like a 1967, 68, 69 Lotus Elan, I think, is one of those cars I think they benchmarked. I think that was the whole idea, to do a modern interpretation of that car. And of course, this car is a lot safer than that because it has crumble zones and it has collapsible steering columns, things like that. So it is safer. There's no 5-mile-an-hour bumpers though. That's one thing you just don't know. It's not required in Japan market. 3, 2, 1. That's 9,000 RPM right there. Not that bad either. See, we're going 105 right now. It's about 63. We slow down to 100. So this is about 100 kilometers right here. We're 62.5 miles an hour. We're at about just under 4,000 RPM. So we got quite a bit of range here on the top here. This is a nice road right here. Just fly right through this stuff. I mean, it's so easy. I mean, you feel like you could just go through here like crazy fast if you want to. So this is like 60 kilometers. So how does it do over speed bumps here? Bad at all. It's going about, what was that, about 30 kilometers in a 15-mile-an-hour. So yeah, going about 20-ish, I guess. Here's another one right here. Going about the same, about 30. Wow, that's not bad. That's not bad. So we're going about 100 kilometers with traffic here. so we got the car in the shop ready to go. And so the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to weigh the car. And so I got a 1/4 tank of gas in it. And everything's pretty stock here, so we got the spare tire and everything. So it's pretty much as it would come from the factory. Preferably it would be nice to have a full tank of gas, but it's only a 6-gallon tank, so it's not going to make too big of a difference. Only about about 36 pounds is pretty much the difference with it full versus empty as far as gas. But just for weight accuracy, because we want to make sure that one thing we're going to do with this project that's top priority is we're going to maintain the weight of the car. And we're going to maintain the balance of the car, because this car has perfect 50-50 weight distribution with 2 people in the compartment there. So we want to do the same thing. And I'm pretty sure that this car is balanced side to side equally as well. So one thing we're going to do when we convert this to electric is we're going to maintain all of that. So if we need to shift the battery around or whatever it takes to maintain that that weight is going to be top priority. So we have excellent handling maintained as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so here it is up on the scales. So this is a very critical stage here. We want to know exactly how much the car weighs, because I want to maintain the weight here. That's one of my top priority, is probably to maintain the weight of the vehicle. So this is what our baseline is right here. So 1,563 pounds. And you can see the front to back balance. It's about 53, 54, 47, 46 or so. Front to back, and then you can see that the side to sides. Oops, sorry about the glare. God, get out of the glare. Sorry about the glare there. So we have, you can see that the side to side is very close as well. And like some front to back, I mean, it's very, very balanced. I'm really kind of surprised at how balanced it is. It's actually really nice. That's probably why this car handles so well. And so that's our baseline right there. And so what we'll be able to do is, as we convert over to electric, if we need to shift batteries around or whatever it's going to take to maintain that weight, but also that side-to-side balance is something else that we're going to do here. So that's, I think that's top priority. So yeah, get your head around that 1,564 pounds. What kind of car weighs that little? And this is the real deal. This car, it has a double wishbone suspension, front and rear. It's like a race car. I mean, it's like it has stuff. You can't buy anything like this. Nobody's ever going to be able to make an EV that's going to be this light. I guarantee it's impossible. It's impossible. The closest thing would be a smart EV, Smart for 2 EV, which I think is around 2,200 pounds. And that's, you know, kind of a shit box. So like this would be something else that nobody's ever done before. So that's why we're doing it. So let's go ahead and go on to the next step. The next step is to go ahead and take all the hazardous gases and fluids out of the vehicle. So that's really just three types of fluids or gases that we're taking out of it. So the air conditioning. This car doesn't have anything in it. It's basically already been emptied out. Must be a leak in it or something. So fortunately, so I didn't have to hook up a device to take it out of the system. So we should be able to just remove the air conditioning pretty much straightforward. That's ready to go. The other hazardous material is the gasoline, of course, so we're going to siphon that out. And then lastly, the coolant. That will be something we'll do last, right before we take the engine out. And then everything else is pretty much good. I mean, the oil can stay in the engine. That's not going to be a problem. And the manual transmission fluid will stay in the manual transmission. I'm not certain if we're going to be keeping the manual transmission or if we're going to just go ahead and bolt directly into the drive shaft with the motor. There's 2 options there. We're going to decide that a little bit later on. But anyway, so let's continue on. Okay, next step is to take out the 12-volt battery just to be safe and secure there. And it also opens up a little more access to other bits and pieces here. So I've taken all the easy stuff off here, the intercooler, some of the intake piping and stuff. And then I went ahead and took off the headlights and the bumper as well. Just kind of not really totally necessary, I don't think, but it makes it a whole lot easier, and that way you don't have to worry about it. You can put your crane and stuff when we lift the engine out.
we'll be able to put it up right against nice and tight here. And plus, if we don't have to worry about bumping into this, or we can actually just stand right here on the thing now, so it's like I don't have to worry about scratching anything. Also, this particular example has a aftermarket oil cooler right here. The intercooler was right above it for the air intake, and then there's a air conditioning condenser, and there's a radiator, so it's basically triple deep right there. So just getting some of that stuff out of the way. Take off some more of this extra stuff we don't need here. And then we'll go ahead and take out the air conditioning, and that's one of the two things that are not going to be going back in is the air conditioning. So we're going to just do a straight AC delete here. Take out all these pipes that go inside, take the chiller out on in the air box, get rid of all that junk. And then the spare tire is the only other thing that's not going to be going back in. Here's the complete AC system out of the car now. This is everything that has to do with the AC lines. So it's pretty compact, pretty light system. Probably one of the lightest I've seen. I actually just weighed everything. It weighs 21 pounds. I figured I'll put a pound back in when I bypass this box. So I figure about 20 is probably what the total is going to be after we're done. But yeah, about 21 pounds right there out. And yeah, probably one of the lightest systems I've seen. Usually it's typically more like 40 or 45, 50-ish. But on this particular car, tiny little system. And so we'll be able to just fill that gap right there. And that will be that. Okay, we got all kinds of progress now. Taking out various items off the car. As you can see here, we got the radiator, we drained the cooling system, we drained the oil, we took the oil cooler off, and took the exhaust system off. So that separated everything. The hardest part was, actually most of it was pretty straightforward. The hardest part was the exhaust pipe right in this area right here, the old catalytic converter to the manifold. All that stuff was all rusted in there, so I had to take out the Sawzall and go to work on it. So that's over here, right here. So I was attached to the turbocharger. I had to take that all out as a unit. Wasn't able to take it off individual parts. The back section was already pretty good shape, so it actually came right off. And so everything's been going pretty smoothly. I'm kind of almost surprised. Just that thing right there, I spent maybe 3 hours screwing around with that. It was a 13.5-hour day yesterday getting. It's the morning after now, so this oil cooler, this thing weighs like 7 pounds. Ridiculous. Totally unnecessary. This car actually has an oil cooler integrated in where the oil filter is at. Factory. There's coolant lines that go in there, and there's also coolant lines that go into the turbocharger too. Just the turbocharger right here. That cool the turbocharger. So it's actually already got coolant that cools those areas. So to have an external oil cooler is kind of silly. Got the alternator off, the radiator, all this stuff. So some of the stuff is salvageable. I could probably resell that. Muffler's in pretty good shape, so I'll be able to sell some of these parts. This part right here is a really cool piece. This is a highly desirable aftermarket equal length exhaust header. So it increases the horsepower. Those things go for $1,000 a piece, brand new. So might be able to get some money for that. But anyway, we'll sell some of this stuff, recoup some of our money here, and that we're going to be spending on the EV stuff. So anyway, let's go ahead and continue on. I think our next thing here is going to be to take off the intake here and pretty much separate the engine from the transmission and go ahead and pull those out. So let's go ahead and do that. I just took out the front seats here to open up a little bit of space here, so we have a little bit more room to work with here. And one thing that's really interesting about this car right here is this area back here. So it's kind of like this shelf area to put a couple backpacks or something, or purse or something, I don't know, whatever you would be, some small bags, maybe groceries or something. But what's interesting is that the whole car, the gas tank is right here. It's a 6-gallon tank, and it's mounted right above the subframe, the differential in the back here. So it's actually just above that. So in order to get to that gas tank, I'm going to have to remove the whole subframe here. So this whole back suspension, the multi-link suspension, is all going to come out as a unit here. We're going to lower that and disconnect it from the differential. And then we'll be able to get to the gas tank, because the only place I can get to it's right here. And so it's, I think I could put about 4 modules there. But what's interesting is that the height of it in relationship to here, there seems to be like 6 inches unaccounted for or something, at least to my eye. I'm not sure what's going on there. So I'm not sure what's happening here. So I'm very, very curious to see what is behind here, because I think there's a big void space. Maybe there's a bunch of thick carpeting, maybe, I don't know. But also we might be able to just change this whole thing, since this is behind, you know, the seats are facing forward, so you really don't see that area, you know, and even from outside you really don't see it that much. So I think this area could probably be reconfigured a little bit. I definitely think we could put 3 modules back here, so for a total of 7 in the back here. But I don't think we'll miss anything. We might miss a little bit, but I think depending on what's underneath here, if we could put those modules lower, we might actually be able to get them down low enough. And then also we're keeping it all kind of on the, just the forward of the rear axle. So I think that's going to be a really good place to put our batteries. And then with the exhaust system out, there's actually less weight back down here. That's where the muffler was at. We're not going to put anything there. And we still have all of our trunk space is 100% intact here, so actually it's bigger than before because I took the spare out. We're going to leave it out, so wow, actually still have a nice big trunk. So so yeah, it's looking good here. So we're going to continue on. Also kind of interesting, so the fuel filter is actually right there on this car. It's not in the front, it's actually here in the back next to the tank, and the differential is right there, as I mentioned, but it looks like there's wiring going into it, so maybe our speed sensor is going straight into the diff. So that's kind of interesting. We'll be able to keep our speedometer probably, even with the transmission and the engine out. So what it looks like underneath there was a little pan right there that was little pan right here that was kind of sort of covering the exhaust pipe, but there's another little pan right there that actually separates the exhaust from the differential. So it's like a multi-tier thing. So the exhaust pipe is straight in alignment with the drive shaft, but with that out of the way now, that was down a tier, and then up behind this metal plate we got our differential. So that's where we're gonna, and our transmission's right about here, so I think we can put our motor directly into our differential or into our drive shaft. Basically the motor will fit right where the tranny's at, and then the engine compartment is wide open for batteries. Alright, so I got all the trim removed from the back area here. It's quite amazing how much space there is here. But I think the reason is because this thing's kind of designed with a kind of a wet boot area right here. So what there was is there was a plastic piece, and then there was another plastic piece out front, and so there was like a big massive amount of room available for when you put the top down. So the idea is this is an articulated top. It's not just one piece that folds, it's actually 2. So the glass comes separate. The glass actually folds into the metal piece, becomes extra thick right here, so it sticks in like this or something. So there was this whole kind of you know, allocated space for that when the top is down. So the thing is, I don't really drive this car as a convertible, like, ever. I do like the T-top and Targa mode. We're in T-top mode right here, right now. But I hardly even do that. I mean, 99% of the time it's a hardtop. So it's never a convertible. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and deactivate that right here. This is the lines for that. So we could just basically remove it. It's in a locked position right now. So all we have to do is just take that cable out, kind of deactivate it, and then it will still be a Targa T-top or hardtop mode, which is fine for me. And we'll be able to put about 4 modules. I've done a kind of a rough estimate here. And also, since this is permanent now, this is not going to be a wet boot area anymore. So between those 2 layers of plastic, it's designed to, you know, be kind of a wet boot area. So we won't have that problem anymore. So we could probably seal it up 100% now and keep it dry, and it'll be a dry hardtop, or a dry, you know, interior space now, instead of a kind of a transitional, or kind of a in the middle plenum space area. So I think that's what we'll do. We'll put 4 modules right there, and then down here, once we get the gas tank out, we'll look at it a little bit closer, but I think probably 2 or 3 modules with lots of room to spare, because it is going to be an odd-shaped tank. It's definitely not going to be a rectangle. It's going to be a really elaborate shape here to fit. So we have to make sure we clear our suspension and everything. So I think probably 3 modules. So that's probably about 7 modules. And then and in the back here, we've got, this is how this is looking now. So it's the carpeting removed. We will have more storage space without that spare tire in place. And with this fuel pipe, this is going to be greatly reduced when it becomes electrical wire. The wire would be about the size of this return vapor line right here. So it would be just that line right there. But it will be electrical wire running tight up against the thing there. So I think we'll gain a little bit of space there in the trunk area too. So that's good.